Hello and welcome to Real Definitions. On this channel, I like to discuss political language and how it's being used against us. So, what I want to tackle today is, are the Nazis socialists? For those who don't know, this is an argument that's been going on recently between left and right, and it is whether the Nazis were socialists or not. If you go to Google and pull up for you real quick, if you type in, are the Nazis socialists, the first thing you get is a Washington Post article. I'm going to click on that for you real quick. Okay, there we go. The right needs to stop falsifying or falsely claiming that the Nazis were socialists. Let me go on to read down for you real quick. I just want to share a quick excerpt for you. Here we go. Now, before I begin, first thing I want to warn you is I am not the best speaker there is. I've always had trouble with speaking. I used to actually take speech therapy classes when I was younger. So, forgive me if this sounds terrible. But here we go. Quote, "There's only one problem. This argument is untrue. Although the Nazis did pursue a level of government intervention in the economy that would shock doctrinary free marketers, their socialism was at best a secondary element in their appeal. Indeed, most supporters of Nazism embraced the party precisely because they saw it as an enemy and an alternative to the political left. A closer look at the connection between Nazism and socialism can help us better understand both ideologies in their historical context and their significance for contemporary politics." Now, the reason I share this excerpt with you, or this paragraph, is because it is just a bunch of word jargon used to confuse you, especially when we look at this specific part that goes, their socialism. Now, first off, they say it's secondary element in their appeal, which means they do acknowledge that there was socialism within their party base for the Nazi party. But why does he highlight these quotes like this? Well, it's quite simple. See, I say there are often three definitions to every word. These three definitions are, of course, the legal definition, what the government sees it as, the personal definition, what one own person sees, and of course, the real definition. So right now, this whole argument and most other arguments against the Nazis not being socialist is simply personal definition versus the real definition. These people who argue that the Nazis weren't socialists are arguing their own personal definition of what they consider socialism to be. So what is the real definition of socialism, you had to ask yourself. Let me bring it up for you. This is dictionary.com. A theory or system of social organization that advocates the ownership and control of the means of production and distribution, capitalism, land, etc., by the community as a whole, usually through a centralized government. This is the lexicon from Oxford Dictionary, a political and economic theory of social organization which advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be or regulated by the community as a whole. And of course, this is Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Any of various economic and political theories advocating collective or governmental ownership and administration of the means of production and distribution of goods. So those are the definitions of socialism. Now, for those who don't know, I like to argue with a lot of people on Twitter. I find it fun. Personally, I do actually. And I always hear the same argument about whether the Nazis were socialists or not. And these are the common arguments I always hear. So, first things I have to tell you is that all these arguments literally mean nothing. And how is that? Well, let's look at the first one. One thing I heard, and I kid you not, this is the one thing I heard first, was Nazis were authoritarians. For some weird reason, this guy I argue with thought that because they were authoritarians, that they could not be socialists. Now, if you actually look at the definitions of socialist, at no point does it have anything. Here's the thing. So, for some reason, people affiliate words with other words a lot. For some reason, people think that socialism means good. That socialism means righteous, But really, it has no affiliation with anything else. So whether socialism can be used for both good and evil means doesn't matter. It can be used for both. So whether they were authoritarian or not does not actually matter. As long as they practice socialism by the dictionary definition, they're socialists. So being authoritarian means nothing. The second one, Nazis were racist. Well, yeah, everybody knows the fucking Nazis were racist, but it doesn't mean that they're not socialists. Obviously, again, socialism does not have an affiliation to good. And I do that with air quotes real quick, good. Then another was, their socialism was only for the German people. It's not real socialism. No, doesn't matter. Again, it has no affiliation to being good or righteous. Another one, which was more interesting one, was Hitler killed socialists on the night of the long knives. Yes, that is absolutely true. However, they leave out this simple, most important fact is the people he killed, he didn't kill because they were socialists. He killed them because they were political rivals and he didn't want the competition. Now, another one is Nazism is a far-right ideology. Now, here's the thing about this. No, it's not, actually. Let me explain. So, going back to dictionary definitions, let's look up Nazi real quick. If it would load. Come on, I click. There you go. Alright. Nazi. Nowhere in dictionary.com does it say that it is a right-wing ideology. If we go to Merriam-Webster dictionary, at no point does it say it's a right-wing ideology. Now, here's the thing. I collect a lot of dictionaries. I have the American Heritage Dictionary in front of me. I even have old copies of Merriam-Webster Dictionary going back to the 1970s and 50s. I have a whole shit ton. See, the only dictionary called Nazism far right wing is Oxford. Oxford is the only one, and is the only one who stands alone on this. They are the odd one out. However, I will make a video on Oxford Dictionary another time. But again, the Oxford Dictionary is the only one who calls it right wing. No one else does. So yeah, you are alone when you say this. But going back to my arguments here, or not my arguments, arguments I've heard. The last one was they were only socialists in name. Now, this is where we argue whether they were socialists or not. See, we can call the Nazis socialists if they meet the dictionary definition of socialism. So how do we prove whether they were or not? Well, it's quite simple. Let's actually look up their socialist programs. Now, what is this program? It's a 25-point program. I'll read from right here real quick. And again, I am not the best reader or speaker. Again, I used to take speech therapy classes when I was younger because I was terrible at enunciation. But anyways, Adolf Hitler announced the party's program on 24th February 1920 before approximately 2,000 people in the Munich Festival of the, I cannot pronounce that word, and within the program was written the leaders of the party straightforward, if necessary, to sacrifice their lives in securing fulfillment of the foregoing points and declaring the program unalterable. So what were these points? These were 25. I'm going to skip some of these because some of these were very simple stuff, the German people's rights, and also being super racist as well. But let's look at their later points that go over some of their other stuff. So, 11, or sorry, I started with 10 actually. Okay. 10. The first obligation of every citizen must be to productively work mentally or physically. The activity of individual may not clash with the interests of the whole, but must proceed within the framework of the whole for the benefit of the general good. We demand, therefore. 11. Abolition of the unearned work and labor incomes, breaking of debt, interest, slavery. In consideration of the monstrous sacrifice of life and property that each war demands of the people, personal enrichment due to war must be regarded as a crime against the nation. Therefore, we demand ruthless confiscation of all war profits. We demand nationalization of all businesses which have been up to the present formed into companies' trusts. 14. We demand that profits from wholesale trade shall be shared out. 15. We demand an expansion on large scale of old age welfare. 16. We demand the creation of healthy middle class and its conservation, immediately communalization of the great warehouses and their being leased at low cost to small firms, the utmost consideration of small firms in contracts with the state, county, and municipality. 17. We demand a land reform suitable to our needs, provision for a law for the free exploration of land for the purpose of public utility, abolition of taxes on land, and prevention of all speculation in land. 18. We demand struggle without consideration against those who actively is injurious of the general interest, common national criminals, users, profiteers, and so forth are to be punished with death without consideration of confession or race. We demand substitution of a German common law in place of Roman law serving as materialistic world order. 20. The state is to be responsible for fundamental reconstruction of our whole nation's national educational program to enable every capable and industrious German to obtain higher education and subsequently introduction into leading positions. The plane of... Oh, God, this goes on for a long time. Sorry. I'm going to go ahead and skip over to 21. You guys can read it yourself. 21. The state is to care for elevation national health by protecting the mother and child by outlawing child labor, by the encouragement of physical fitness by means of legal establishment of gymnastic and sport obligation, by the most support of organizations concerned with physical instruction of the young. 22. We demand formation of a national army. 23. We demand legal oppositions to known lies and promulgation through the press in order to enable the provisions of a German press. We demand that A. All writers employed in newspaper offices is controlling the press. 14. We demand freedom of religion and all religious denominations within the state so long as they do not endanger its existence or oppose the moral sense of the Germanic race. 25. For the execution of all of this we demand and formation of a strong central power in the Reich, ultimately authority of the central parliament over the whole Reich and its organization in general. Alright, so if we look at all these points, first off, land reform. If we go back to the definition of socialism and distribution of capital, land, etc. Land. We go back to it. We have no more debt income, and let's see here. Where was that one about confiscation and redistribution? Oh yeah. We demand that the profits from wholesale trade be shared out. Obviously, this control of capital and land, etc. And of course, a theory of system of advocacy, ownership, and control of a means of production through a centralized government. The centralized government is supposed to be the Reich. Truth is, their points meet socialism completely. But the real question is, of course, obviously, this was made back in 1920 by Hitler. The real question, though, is, did the Nazis uphold these points? And that's one of the big arguments right now. One argument you'll find is someone from the right will say, hey, these are all their points, and then someone from the left saying, yeah, but they didn't uphold them, and saying they're only socialist in name. So the real question is, did they uphold these points? Well, let's take a look. As soon as this would load up. This is the National League for the Reich for Physical Education. This goes back to the one of the other points of, where was it? Oh, boy, where did it? I swear, I gotta write these points down. It has to do with child labor and helping them, blah, blah, blah. There we go. Protecting the mother and child by outlawing child labor, the encouragement of physical fitness by the means of legal establishment of gymnastics. That's essentially what this one is right here. They're controlling physical education. So yes, they actually did. This one was made, let's see here, 1993. Oh, these are different people who were in charge of it. So this one was around for quite a while. We go here. What's this one? I've all these ones of all their National Socialist programs. Let me see if I can find their welfare real quick. Hang on. I know I have one of theirs somewhere here. German Labor Front, Cell Organization, Running Through Joy. There we go. The National Socialist People's Welfare. This one was literally about distribution of wealth, especially what they stated back then. So, let's just skim through was a social welfare organization during the Third Reich. The NS was a local welfare organization. On 3rd May 1933, shortly after the Nazi Party took over in Weimar, Germany, Hitler turned it into a party organization of the NAP. The main offices were in the structure of the NSV was based on the party model, with local country Kreis and district GU administration. So, was not against this people's welfare program. He actually helped he reorganized it, but he was not against it. People say that Hitler was against socialism. Well, clearly he wasn't, because he allowed these socialist programs to exist. So here, like, there's a whole history of it right here about what they did. And of course, Obviously, it wasn't long lasting. Hitler took control in 1933, and then they lost the war in 45. So a lot of these programs were very short lived. But of course, there were a couple different other social programs here. Which one was this one? Yes, as part of the German Labor Front, to promote advance of socialism, national socialism to the people, had become the world's largest tourism operation in the 1930s. Which one was this one? Beauty of Labor, as a propaganda organization of national government from the period of 1934, its eventual disbandment, blah blah blah. Listen, all right. There's that one. Also, self-actualization. This one, I believe, actually came because there's a lot of these here. Was it the Labor? Yeah, the Labor Front was essentially it's kind of like you're saying. People say that Hitler outlawed these unions and stuff, but the thing is, he actually kept a union, his union, essentially. Essentially, everything was made for the centralized government. They were organization under the Bonzi Party, which replaced various independent trade unions in Germany. So essentially, yeah, Hitler outlawed trade unions, but kept this one union that was for the government. Also, because that's what socialism is. It wanted a centralized government. So yes, they do meet the centralized government requirement, and also they redistributed money. They did. Only thing you can't really argue what they did was they didn't really do much land reform other than land that they stole. Let's see here. This would load up. Yes. So they did a lot of, let's see here. Pull up real close. Jewish property seizures, and these lands were given to German people. So yes, they did distribute land to other people. Now, don't get me wrong. Everything in the 25-point program, they did not complete, obviously. But obviously, if World War II never happened, and they were still going on, chances are they probably would have gotten to it. So, are the Nazis socialists? Would I call them full-blown socialists? No, I would not call them full-blown socialists. But I would say that they practice a lot of social policies, which you cannot honestly argue. Because, like, I swear, this is everywhere. All these different socialist programs are, like, here's this is the School Children's League. I think this one actually became the Hitler Youth, I think. Yeah, it became the Hitler Youth. Obviously, so Nazi Germany met the centralized government used for bettering the people. Again, that's what Hitler always wanted. He wanted a Germany for the German people by meeting very much the community that he fought for was for the German people. And again, socialism has no affiliation to being good or righteous. So yes, I would say they are extremely close to socialism without being fully blown. Like they are like 1 foot away from being full blown socialism, I would say. But essentially, that's all I really have to say is I think that they are closer to socialism than they are capitalism. Anyways, thank you for joining me today. And remember, buy a dictionary before it's too late because they will change our language. Goodbye.